Hello, this is Dr. Janice, and thank you for visiting my YouTube channel. I have a question for you. As a Black woman, did you feel a certain kind of way about the election? Did you experience a range of emotions ranging from numb to frustrated to discouraged? The full range of emotions. Well, I invite you to join me for this episode where we are going to talk about sisterhood, survival, and the stress of the election. So stay tuned. Thank you. Just going to be me here today because I really want to dive into a conversation. You don't know anything about me. I am the founder and CEO of Pearls Perfected Institute. And again, where I help you to transform from a professional into a go to expert with user friendly technology and helping you basically to stand on your own platform and do the very thing that God created you to do so that you can ultimately be a blessing to others. So let's go ahead and get into our topic for today. And today, our topic is sisterhood, survival, and the strain of the election. Now, I don't know about you, but since this whole election process started really over a year ago, I have gone through a range of emotions. I don't know about you, maybe you have as well. But I remember when Joe Biden was in the race and things seemed to be going downhill, it was really getting kind of scary, and I was getting pretty nervous about it. But then in walks and what a wonderful blessing that was that Joe Biden stepped down and asked Kamala Harris to go ahead and step into the position of running for president of the United States. And so when that happened, there was a lot of talk about the fact that there was joy in the election process. Um, Suddenly there was some joy there. People were excited about the election. People were coming together. I remember sitting in on the call of the 44,000 Black women that wanted to come together to really make things happen. And I don't know about you, but you probably experienced, especially as a Black woman, I experienced a certain excitement that I had never had about the political process. I was excited to see what was going on. I jumped in there and started volunteering to make calls. I volunteered however I could. I donated. I was really involved in this election because my hopes were so high about the fact that Vice President Kamala Harris could possibly become the president of the United States. So again, there was a lot of joy around that. And then election week came. And even Monday night, I was on the call. I was on the phone making calls in the to North Carolina. Now I live in Kansas, but I was making calls in North Carolina on behalf of the Democratic Party and on behalf of Vice President Kamala Harris. And again, my spirits were high. The election day, my spirits were just as high because I didn't go anywhere, but I was rooting, I was praying, and again, the excitement level was still very high. And even on that day, I had drove to the library to pick up a book. And when I got to the library, there were no lines. So what that meant to me was that my county had voted early and we had already made our decision. So again, my spirits were very, very high. And then came Wednesday morning. And suddenly there was disbelief. There was a range of emotions that many of Black women who I am close to, or who text me, or who we had a conversation with, there was a sudden change from the excitement to something else. And I remember the word that I used, and me and my husband talked about this. The word that I used was that I was numb. And so I want to ask those of you who are on this call today, what were some of the feelings that you experienced on Wednesday? How are or were your feelings post election? Now, again, I want you to just put that in the comment box. And again, because I want to know some of the things that you experienced. Now, I'll just give you some of the words that I heard from friends and loved ones, sisters that I heard from them. I heard things like, I'm shocked. I heard I'm discouraged. I heard disappointed. I heard all these things that ultimately I felt exhausted, that I just couldn't do anything. So again, join in with me and let me know if you experience any of those emotions. Um, I do, again, remember having several conversations about how we were feeling. And part of the reason why we were feeling what I would call on the negative emotion wheel is because our hopes were up high. And again, for Black women, and again, I'm speaking directly from personal experience, it became personal for us. Now, I don't know about you, but it became personal for me. And even I have this app that I use on a regular basis. It's called "How Am I Feeling?" or "I'm Feeling" or something. Let me see what it is. How we feel. I have this app called How We Feel, and I actually go in and check in the morning, and then I check in the evening. And then at the end of the week, it gives me a summary of my emotions for the week. And I remember that all of my emotions were in the range of the things that were low energy and unpleasant. And again, each day of the week there was another emotion that I was feeling, and again, they all went in the range of low energy and unpleasant. And again, thank you for those who have commented. Yes, there was shock. There was, again, hurt. But again, there was something that was so deep about the hurt that it actually could manifest itself as trauma. Now, many of you know that I have a degree in biological psychology, meaning I have a good understanding of how our physical body affects our emotions, and also how our emotions and our feelings affect our physical health. So when you look at some of the things that we experienced as a result of her loss, and just disbelief, numbness, those kinds of things, those are technically stressors. Okay, so go along with me here. Those are technically stressors. Some of the emotions that we were having, some of us shut down. Some of us went into what I call didn't want to go to work. Some of us didn't want to turn on the television. Some of us did not want to have a conversation with anybody. We just wanted to shut it down. We were in what I call sackcloth and ashes, which was sweats or even pajamas. Again, there were some who I had conversations with who did not want to get out of the bed. Okay. So again, that was a stressor. And what happens to us is that our bodies, when we undergo stress, our bodies don't understand the difference between a physical threat and uh, a imagined threat. Okay, so as we were dealing with this again, this personal pain as a result of the election, our bodies didn't know the difference. And the some of the emotions and things that we experience literally, again, stay with me, literally can manifest themselves later on as physical challenges. Now, let me introduce you to someone who I learned a whole lot from just this week. So there is a book called Weathering, and it is the extraordinary stress of ordinary life in an unjust society. And it is written by, her name is Arlene Geronimus. Okay. I just picked up this book from the library today. And again, it's weathering. It's called Weathering. And so she defines weathering as the fact that when we, and again, remember the stress that many of us as Black women felt was, in a sense, racism. Because I know for me, it was just a challenge feeling like that she wasn't elected because she was a Black woman, and that in so many ways was hurtful. Okay, because as a Black woman, again, I have experienced various forms of racism in my life, as many of you may have as well. And again, it was just stressful. Okay, so she talks about the fact that stress can lead to early aging. This type of stress that we experience from a racism perspective, it can lead to early aging, higher rates of conditions like hypertension and heart disease. This means that whatever we're feeling right now, this heaviness, that exhaustion, the things that we have experienced, these negative emotions that we have experienced, it's not just in our heads. It can actually get into our bodies. So the reason I wanted to have this conversation today is because I want us to be healthy and whole. I do not want what we are feeling as the results of this whole process and these feelings. I do not want them to manifest themselves later in in physical health problems. Okay. So another thing I want to explain about her research is that she shows that moments of racial stress aren't isolated. They compound over time, adding to what she calls this thing called weathering. Weathering is a kind of wear and tear on our bodies caused by systemic racism and chronic stress. Okay, did everybody get that? This racial stress is different. And again, as those who experience it, again, it compounds over time. And again, it goes into something that she calls weathering, which is a kind of wear and tear on our bodies caused by systemic racism and chronic stress. Now, there have been numerous studies done about the effect of racism or perceived racism on one's physical health and emotional health. So, again, what I really want to do today is talk to you about how we can keep this from killing us, right? How we can move forward and be able not to allow this to cause physical harm to our bodies. Okay. So, again, asking for a sister friend really is all about making sure that we are healthy, that we are whole, that we are well. And again, I don't want the results of what we have experienced and what we may continue to experience to end up causing us problems later on down the line. Is everybody with me? All right. So again, all these things we experienced, we some of us have gotten better as the has gone on. I know that my husband has been preaching encouraging sermons about how we move forward. And I don't know how many times I saw on Facebook or wherever that people says trust God, or I saw that people were writing things like God is in control. You saw all those things, right? But we have to go one step further and make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. Thank you, Willetta. Yes, her speech made me feel better, but at the same time, when I tried to go to sleep for several nights, I still had it on my mind that you know what? Here's a woman who had all the right credentials, who had everything, but yet America was not willing to accept her. So again, I started to see how this was manifesting itself physically for me. All right, so let me give you some suggestions on how we can make it through this. All right. So first thing, tips for mental recovery. Again, because we do not want this to manifest itself later on as physical illness. Number one, I want you to be able to pause and breathe. Now, I saw this so many times coming across Facebook and from therapists, from individuals who focus on emotional health to pause and breathe. So hopefully that's something that you were able to do. And there is an amazing breathing technique that I have learned. It's called the 478. I'm not sure if anybody ever heard of it, but basically you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 7 seconds, and then you breathe out through your mouth for 8 seconds. Okay, try it. It does wonders. It's a great way to help you fall asleep as well. So first of all, stop and breathe. I know again my emotions were all over the place, and it was hard to just to focus. So definitely stop and breathe. That's our first suggestion. Pause and breathe. Then secondly, connect with community. Now, again, where I began to gain strength as the week went on was when I began to talk to my sisters. I had a place where I could express my emotions, whether it was some of my Facebook friends, whether it was friends from college, whether it was some of my sorority sisters, whether it was my mastermind sisters. We came together as a community just to be able to share and listen to one another. Of course, we had no solutions. We all were maybe in a tough place, but having that community, having being around somebody that understood what I was dealing with and what I was thinking about, that made all the difference in the world. So if you have not had that time, find a sister friend and have this conversation with her. Go ahead and share with her all the emotions and the things that you were feeling. We always find help in community. And there have been data that has shown that even when we are experiencing health challenges, when we are surrounded by community, especially positive community, then we are able to actually fare better health wise when we have community around. And again, there's studies that show that even when you have something like cancer, even being in a community such as a church can actually help you to have better outcomes. Okay. So surround yourself with community. That's number two. Number three, set boundaries. One of the ways that I had to set boundaries over the last couple of weeks is I had to stop watching the news. I literally had to stop watching the news because there were so many Monday morning quarterbacks who talked about what she should have did, what who some I didn't want to hear all that. I did not want to hear all that. So I had to draw some boundaries about the things that I did. So one was that I was not going to watch the news. And I even had to draw some boundaries about the places I went. There were certain places that I just did not want to go. Again, maybe because others were celebrating. And again, you know your own boundaries, but there were certain places I just did not want to go. I did find strength in going to church, and again being among my church members, and I found strength again in being around friends. But we had to draw boundaries. I did not want to get into a political debate with anybody. I did not want to get into a conversation about what we should have done, what we or whose fault it was, or who didn't vote. I did not want to get into those conversations of what I would call blame. So again, we have to draw those boundaries. Maybe I'll get into them later, but I just was not interested in having those conversations. So again, had to draw boundaries, set boundaries. Then number four, move my body. I just had to just get up and take a walk, especially when I was really, really struggling. I knew I had to get up and go do something. And so thankfully, the weather was beautiful. And, it was amazing how the sun came out just so bright and beautiful on that Wednesday and Thursday. And so, you know, you have to move your body, stretch, whatever you can do, because when you can walk, you can think, you can pray. Again, just move your body. Don't grab a bucket of ice cream and then just lay on the couch. Now there was some time when I did sleep in, all right, but again, make sure that you are moving your body. Don't sit down on this. All right. Then number five is seek professional help. In many cases, again, because this was trauma, because this was stress. I sat in on a call with Black women the following Sunday after the election, and many talked about the fact that they had to talk to somebody. And again, there's nothing wrong with that because it's an opportunity for you to share your emotions and for someone to help you, especially if you're stuck in some areas. So there is no shame in your game to get psychological help, to get professional help. See a counselor, see a friend, see a someone who is a professional. Especially if you really took this to heart. I mean, again, I was close to feeling like I needed to talk to a counselor because again, I had taken it so personal. Again, so seek professional help if you need it. And then the number one thing that we want you to do is to focus on your faith. And we heard this so many times where people were encouraged to trust God, to also believe Him. to know that he's in control. You have to focus on your faith because again, God has gotten you through a number of things. He wasn't just going to turn his back on you now. So we have to trust him. So focus on your faith. Focus on scriptures that are encouraging. For instance, here's one. Jeremiah 30 and 17 from the NIV version says, "But I will restore you to health and heal your wounds, declares the Lord." Again, because this emotional stress that we experience could ultimately affect our health. Now, I have done some studying with I took a course with the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Okay. And in the training that we took, it was for pastors and lay people basically who wanted to start their own cancer care ministry. And oftentimes we learn that emotional challenges, deep emotional challenges, hurts can ultimately manifest themselves, which is chronic stress, can ultimately manifest itself into physical challenges, and cancer being one of those. We also learned that there's a book that I keep all the time that talks about the Forgiveness Project, that talks about the fact that unforgiveness is a stressor, which can ultimately lead to chronic illness. And so as I think about that, think about again how your faith can keep you encouraged and off of that stress wheel. All right. So the next scripture I want to offer to you is from 3 John 1 and 2. And it says, "Dear friend, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well." So I have to ask for those of you who talked about some of the challenges that you experience, some of those emotions that you experience, have they started to get better as the week has gone on? Are you do you have a lot more hope? Do you are you not letting this thing attack you emotionally? How are you doing now? I have to ask, how are you doing? Have you been able to have those healthy conversations? Have you been able to take care of yourself through all of this? Please let me know in the comments if there's something that you did for yourself this week to really make a difference in your emotional health these last 2 weeks. Okay, and again, I have again still, I'm not watching a lot of news, but again, I have been able to trust God, the fact that He knows what He's doing. And then I was even able, I don't know how at the time because I was struggling, I was able to encourage somebody else because we don't know what the future holds. But again, we have to trust God. So, would you join me? I have an affirmation that I want for to leave with you before we get out of here today. All right. And that says, I want you to remember that our voices matter, our well being matters, and together we can weather this moment and come out stronger on the other side. All right. So read this with me. All right. Our voices matter. Our well being matters. And together we can weather this moment and come out stronger on the other side because God has some things for us to do and we want to get it done. So we got to have that. We got to restore our emotional health. All right. So that is pretty much my conversation today. I want you to remember again that sisterhood matters. Okay, we are going to survive this, even though the election was a strain to our physical bodies as well as to our emotional health. So, we were talking today about sisterhood, survival, and the strain of the election. So, as I mentioned earlier in the conversation, let me see if there's. So, yes, I see lots of walking and remembering about Job. Yes, Job came up a whole lot in this whole process. However, our neighbor across the street keeps hanging out with his flag every day. See, yeah, that can challenge you. So we have to say, okay, we're not going to walk by that neighbor's house. We're not going to engage. So again, we have the option to manage again our emotional health, and we want to keep it on the up and up so that it does not later manifest itself into physical health challenges. We already have enough things that are challenging for us because, again, experiencing racism is a threat to your physical and your emotional health. And this is the only place that we may experience it. So that's my 2 cents for today, is that I want us to be able to be here. I want us to be healthy. I want us to be well. I want us to be whole. I want us to encourage one another. I want us to pray for one another. And I want us to continue to support each other because this isn't going to be the last time we could possibly experience an event like this. So, you guys with me? You with me? Ladies, you with me? Especially our sisters. Are you with me? All right. So, that's that. All right, so this is probably the last asking for a sister friend for the year. I am regrouping and starting to get ready for next year. Plus, the holidays are starting to come up, so I am going to be busy planning for next year. We will have asking for a sister friend. It will be back next year, and I am always looking for guests who would love to join me. And again, I typically provide invite professionals who are technically go-to experts who are again helping individuals to have a whole healthy life. Whether you are coaching, whether you are a mental health provider, or a doctor, a um, someone who trains people to eat well, nutritionists, workout individuals, anyone who is helping women to have better lives, to improve their lives, to solve women's problems, you are invited to be a guest on the Asking for a Sister Friend. We do invite men sometimes. You are welcome to come. I had, I think, 3 or 4 men this year, including my hubby. And so, again, if you are providing solutions to women's problems, then I would love to have you as a guest on Asking for a Sister Friend. Also, for all the guests that have appeared on my show can be found on my website. If you go to pearlsperfectedinstitute.com, you will be able to go to search for individuals who are professionals, and you would be able to find a list of everybody that has been a participant in Asking for a Sister Friend. We're ending this year with this is the 37th episode, so we came a long way. And thank you for those who were my guests and those who came as visitors. Again, if you want to be a guest on Asking for a Sister Friend, then I invite you to um, email me at janicerlove.com, and I would be happy to have a conversation with you about being my special guest. All right, that's it. So, again, thank you all for joining me on today. Thank you for your comments. It looks like that I was not alone in how I was feeling, but again, God is able to move us forward again, so that we can be all that He wants us to be, and we will be around and healthy to be able to do the things that He has called us to do. All right.